Welcome to the Trumpet of the last few days. I'm Stanley Farrar.
I'm Robert Farrar.
And I'm Joshua Farrar.
We watch as this world slowly turns and twists and mangles itself into slipping into ever increasing voids of insanity.
So basically, we're going into a black hole.
Sounds like the plot to the Twilight Zone.
Doesn't it though? And it's real life.
Does the Twilight Zone have a
Black
singular plot?
No singular plot, but it's all about
No.
little isolated events of people either slipping into insanity or being messed with by aliens that are very, very
A lot of it, yeah.
unsubtle references to the Communist Party. So pretty on the nose, actually.
Yes, isn't it? But now, if you look at our society, we're being messed with by aliens. They're pouring in over the southern border, being invited in by an insane dictatorial fascist madman in the White House. We are taking in seeing cities burn from the communist uprisings, things of BLM. We are seeing in more and more cities taking and defunding the law enforcement, and then when they get their cars stolen, take in and call the police. That happened in Atlanta. Violent crime is skyrocketing. We've got people in the bureaucracy that are trying to keep us in a perpetual war state. It's like the Twilight Zone.
Now remember, the constant war in Afghanistan that is finally ending. If you support its end, you hate women because you're ending the women's programs in Afghanistan. So just remember that each of us are radical women haters. All three of us.
Or, see, what's that song, He-Man Woman Hater? Is that from like the 80s?
Remember that women's programs are so important that people have to die for them.
Mostly men.
Yeah, mostly men.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily have a problem with men
why-
dying for women, but
Wait a
the
second.
programs
I have a very big
have to go
problem
on.
for men dying for feminism. I don't have a problem with men dying to defend women, but feminism is destroying women.
Yes, it is.
So
wait
I
a
have a real
second.
problem with men dying for it.
What's this thing you call a woman? See, I know of birthing people and non-birthing people. What's a woman?
Oh, haven't you heard that is a social construct? Women don't actually exist. So therefore we can't have women's programs.
So
of
wait,
course,
what
because
about those
men are
transgender
also a
people
social construct. We can't send men off to die for women because neither exist.
I see. So really, there's no such thing as
So we
transgender
shouldn't
people
have to defend.
or cisgender. Because they're all just social
think about it.
constructs.
If it's a social construct, then we can't be doing away with women's programs. And you can't hate something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I mean, men and women don't exist, so I don't hate men and women. So, yeah, doesn't matter how many people I gun down in the streets, they don't exist. They're not men and women.
See, of course, there's that ever popular line on the internet. I'm not racist. I hate everybody equally.
But wait a second, that would mean that you. No.
Now, Sydney Watson took and did a video recently where she took and admitted that she had to agree with feminism on this one subject, and she hated the fact she had to agree with them.
Well, that's because you have to admit, feminists. You have to admit that feminists, in order to exist, have to acknowledge the existence of women.
Yes.
It's the ultimate sticking point. And in order to acknowledge, in order to acknowledge the existence of women, you have to acknowledge the existence of men, and what makes men and women different.
Which makes it to where the left is tearing itself apart.
Yes.
In Atlanta, one of the city council was in his fancy Mercedes, keyless entry, keyless ignition.
Which is a terrible idea from a security standpoint. I hate those types of cars for that. For that, among other reasons.
And he went to a bad part of town to give a speech on renewal, and a couple of 10 and 11-year-olds.
And we may never find
out. Dad's connection must have been hacked by a couple of 10 and 11-year-olds.
I don't know. It sounded to me like he said a cup of 10, 11-year-olds. Now, who fills out a cup of 10, 11-year-olds? I don't know. But
Dracula.
Of 10, 11-year-olds. Little kid stole his car and drove off. So what did he do? He called the very people that he voted to take and defund. He called the police. And then insisted that if they catch them, he was not going to press charges.
Then there was 0 point in calling the police. Except just to get his car back. But then they just go on, and recidivism is...
I would have put him on hold.
You know what happened?
I left him with a robotic voice that says, "Your call is very important to us, but we will keep you on the line until it's no longer important to you."
Unless he was going to I'm certain that the problem stems from their underprivileged environment. If you have a better environment, then they will not be going around stealing cars.
Well, to be fair, as long as those 10 and 11-year-olds remain inside that car, they're in a very good environment. It's got air conditioning. It's all swanky and high class.
How long those police are going to look for that car?
Depends on the individual police officers.
The moment he said, I will not be pressing charges, they quit.
Don't blame them. I would too.
It would be a waste of time, energy, and funds to take
funds that they don't have.
That is not going to be processed. Yeah. Funds they don't have. Because he made sure they didn't have them.
Yeah.
And every city that has defunded the police, the violent crime rate skyrocketed.
Just look at Portland. On some estimates, 800%. Other estimates, 1,300%.
It's insane. Why anybody would take and walk through Portland without a gun. I haven't noticed a clue.
Oh, maybe
well,
they're not
allowed
fond
to
of
have
organs.
guns.
The thing about it is,
oh, not that organ.
what difference does it make if they're not allowed to have guns? They're not enforcing the law anyway. The police are defunded.
So what you're saying is, and let me get this perfectly straight. We want to defund the police because then they can't enforce infringement on our Second Amendment rights.
Exactly. You get rid of the tyrants. And then mob justice takes over, the vigilantes rise, anarchy, and... oh wait, that's not what we're after, is it?
No, we're not really after anarchy, but sometimes in some of these areas, anarchy would be freer.
It's weird how fast a good premise can go awry.
Oh, like in the autonomous zone of the George Floyd Square, where they have shootouts in the streets in broad daylight, with news media standing there going, "Oh, well, what's that? Did I hear something? Why is everybody jumping to the ground and hiding behind things? I think I'll just stand here in the middle of the street while bullets are flying around, and surely they won't shoot me. I'm a reporter."
To be fair, the reporter was British. He doesn't know what a gun sounds like.
Wait a second. I thought I said something about good ideas going wrong. All I heard were bad ideas. George, as soon as you said George Floyd Square, it's and the autonomous zone. Oh. Well, knowing these autonomous zones, they're
are like
not
the
good ideas.
Cities in you talking about good ideas, like those cities that took and painted their city with pink lights in honor of George Floyd.
What good's that going to do him?
Why pink?
Breast cancer awareness.
I don't
know. Oh yeah, we're having an early breast cancer awareness month. Because it may not be well known, but George Floyd was actually suffering from metastatic breast cancer. And
well, considering the fact that he died, a year ago now? And due to the time,
yeah.
Then I guess we can consider his death a COVID-related casualty.
What gets me is they're saying, "Oh, you gotta get off our necks. You cannot take it and kneel on our necks like you did with George Floyd." They didn't even kneel on his neck; they kneeled on his back.
They want you to get all the way off his back about that.
There have been studies. Yeah. And they've done studies that shows you can't suffocate somebody that way.
Well, he didn't suffocate. He overdosed.
No, he died from a drug overdose. He killed himself.
Yeah.
If anybody should have been taken and charged with his murder, it should have been his drug dealer.
And his girlfriend.
Instead, they had him testify.
And all his drug dealer did was plead the fifth.
Well, I mean, are you surprised?
Yeah. The thing about it is that he was they had already hung him, Chauvin, before the trial ever came up. when Congress people are saying that they're going to stir up riots in the streets, if you find him innocent, there's no way to get a just trial, especially when you've got BLM activists on the jury. BLM, the guy was white. They're of course they're going to try to do him in. It's kind of, have you heard this? That BLM person who got shot in London and took and said about white people?
No, but I haven't been paying attention to London
She
either.
said that. She said that she wasn't for equality. She was for white enslavement.
Was she the one that was killed by like 8
No, she
black
was very-
guys? Or was that another one?
Yeah. Well, she was one that was killed just this week by a drive-by shooter in
Oh, okay.
London.
Yeah,
Then I was thinking of a different
she got shot in
news
the head.
article.
I didn't know she'd actually died. Last
Yeah,
I
she got
heard, she
shot
was
in
in
the head.
critical condition. Did she?
Last I heard, she went ahead and died. But the thing about it is
Killed by gang violence.
the news took and said that begrudgingly, yes, she died for being shot by a black gang.
I mean,
What is ironic as I'll get out.
if they stop trying to address this like a race issue and start trying to address it like a gang violence issue, they may actually have more progress.
Oh,
Oh,
whoa,
yeah, that
whoa,
would make
whoa,
all the
whoa.
difference in the world.
London address its gang problem? Are you kidding? That's like saying Chicago, clean up your act.
Oh, I believe we've said
and
Chicago
see,
clean up
I
your
just
act a
heard
lot. It just doesn't do anything because they never actually
Yes, we
listen.
have. Exactly.
The thing about it is that we of course know this never happened. The BBC just recently stated there were no firearms in Britain.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it must have been a stabbing.
They're trying to get rid of the knives
That
too.
had to be. She was stabbed in the head. Oh, but they haven't declared that there are no knives in Britain yet. What are they going to spread their their butter and jam with?
They'll learn to spread their butter and jam with marmalade.
Cucumbers. It's
With
no.
They'll use
Butter and
marmalade.
cucumbers. I've been there. It's butter and cucumbers.
I thought it was butter and jelly, but from what I've heard, they make butter and
take an
jelly
act-
sandwiches in Europe, which is
It sounds disgusting.
In Britain, they're very
Yeah.
fond of sandwiches that are they butter the bread and then they put slices of cucumber on it, and that's the sandwich.
That's disgusting.
well. I have heard in
That's
Europe.
so
I
true.
don't know if it's in Britain that they do butter and jelly, and they can't fathom peanut butter and jelly, whereas Americans are the opposite.
The thing about it is, now I grew up with butter and jelly, where you put butter on your biscuits and then jelly. It's the same thing as putting butter on a.
Well, no, but it's not. From what I've heard, it's more like they do butter and jelly on a sandwich.
I don't really see the difference there. Bread is bread. So it tastes slightly different,
Well,
but
the bread is not
But-
all bread's the same.
in
And
my case,
I don't do butter and
I don't put
jelly
butter
on
and
my
jelly on a
biscuit,
biscuit.
so-
It's just either jelly or butter, or honey is
Yeah,
actually my
exactly.
go-to. But I'm a weirdo. Then again,
Oh.
I don't know some people's penchant for peanut butter and honey. I've never gotten that. I get
Oh,
it.
you don't
People
understand her
like
own
it.
I like
mother.
it.
Gotcha.
Not allowed to eat it, but
I get that people like it. I
I
just
like it, but I'm not allowed to eat it.
I just don't get
What I
why
never
they
understood
like
was
it.
peanut butter and bananas.
Peanut butter and bananas.
Yeah, same.
I know Matt really liked that.
Culinary delicacy of the United States: peanut butter and bananas on a sandwich.
Didn't Zach also like those a lot?
Elvis loved it. I don't know, but I know Elvis loved them.
He was also
A
Hawaiian.
lot of people in the South.
They're barely Americans.
About that.
I was pretty sure he was from Hawaii.
I thought he was from Tennessee.
No, that's just where he got famous.
He got famous in Tennessee, yeah, but no, he moved from Alabama to Tennessee.
I'm Googling this.
Oh, such a big change.
Is Elvis from Hawaii?
His mom cooked okra. I know that, which is very much a southern delicacy. So even if they weren't originally southern, they became southern. Or as I like to call it, orca.
Where is
Sometimes you just need a good
Oh,
When
helping
you
of
take
orca.
and you look, if you look at
Oh.
at the way the
Elvis was born in
society
Mississippi.
is declining. Okay,
Oh, still the South.
okay, I missed it by state.
Tupelo, Mississippi.
That's right. He's from Tupelo. That's right. Then he went from Tupelo, Mississippi to Tennessee.
I remember that
But-
he joined the army out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. But
Well, that's actually where he went to boot camp.
oh yeah, same difference. You're basically where you go to boot camp is basically where you actually join the military. Before that, at best, you're
Not where
signing
you go
paper.
to MEPS or...
But when you look at the slide our society's going into, it's been building for a while, and it's brought on because they've taken and allowed anti-American, anti-family, anti-God doctrines to become the dominant force in our country.
Didn't you hear, Dad? This country doesn't believe in doctrines.
They don't teach anything.
Everybody has a doctorate. But and the thing about it is, you talk about these school shootings that they are always trying to ban guns to prevent. Well, shooting, if you're teaching everybody that they're an animal, and animals kill other animals, and it's a survival of the fittest, why shouldn't they kill other humans?
Well, remember that the Nazis were really big on standard Darwinism and social Darwinism.
Well,
Fittest survive.
if evolution, and more specifically the survival of the fittest, and only the strongest survive, and that is the way to develop a stronger population, is true, if you were to approach everything with the thought that that was true, then the Nazis would have been the good guys in World War II. A lot of people seem to
Yes, they
forget
would've.
that or overlook it.
Yeah,
In fact, from
Because
that
you killed the weak.
mindset,
but we see a
Yeah,
lot.
from that mindset, it would be inherently immoral to try to stop a pandemic.
yeah, it would.
Or to try to vaccinate
Because only
against
the
it.
strong survive.
In fact, it would be it would be moral to euthanize your weakest, and anything otherwise would be
Yes, it
evil.
would.
Well, they actually were promoting that in the 20s and 30s.
Well, that's when that social Darwinism was at its high point.
But when you look at these attacks on the Jews. They're attacking Jews all over the country, and most of them are people who are ethnically Arab. They are flying Palestinian flags. In there once that they spotted in Florida had Hitler was right written on the side of his van, as well as Palestinian flags. And the Democrat politicians are supporting these people. And the news aren't even broadcasting about them, except on the conservative news.
And they call the Republicans Nazi and fascists.
Yeah, but we've known for some time that's been a
Well, they
smokescreen.
follow the Republic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you actually look at who the racists are, it's the left. But the Jews are hated by the left, and they vote Democrat. And the vast majority of them are in Democrat leftist strongholds and are extremely liberal people. But they're hated by the left.
Well, it's really interesting. I was having a discussion about Israel with one of my friends, and he brought up that Tel Aviv is the homosexual capital of the world. The Jews have long since forsaken the moral backing of the law and are honestly surprised when it's all just kind of falling apart.
I'm believing that Tel Aviv is the homosexual capital of the world. We have San Francisco after all. But
He's right.
They're definitely vying for it. They're definitely vying for it.
But you're right. Whenever you take and forsake morality, you're going to go into decline. They rejected Christ, and by doing so, they've been in a moral decline constantly.
Well, it's really interesting. We watched a video on Pierce of Epirus, and for those who don't know who Pierce of Epirus is, he was a king he was the king of a kingdom in modern day Greece. At that time, it wasn't a united Greece. He had a reputation, or developed a reputation, for winning battles and
But losing wars.
but still losing the war.
Like robocalls.
Well, that's the thing about
But
Greece. It makes for a slippery slope.
But Pyrrhus, just before he developed that reputation, because he developed it fighting the Romans. He was one of the few people who during the rise of the Roman Empire, it wasn't an empire yet. During the rapid rise of the Roman Republic, he actually got the better of the Romans in 2 engagements. But before the final engagement, the Rome had sent an envoy, and he tried to bribe the envoy, tried to scare the envoy, tried to do whatever he could to get favorable terms. But the Roman envoy had a code of honor that Rome would later most definitely not be known for. And when when Pyrrhus's doctor offered to poison Pyrrhus for the envoy, he refused the guy's offer and told Pyrrhus about it. So somewhere along the line, there was a rapid moral degradation that occurred, because by the time of the Roman Empire, that honor code was gone.
According to a Roman historian, the moral decline of Rome started when they made divorce easy and undermined the Roman family.
What a
And
coincidence.
it was a greasy slope from that point.
What a strange and unusually potent coincidence.
Well, and at the same time, you had the political leaders battling what they saw as the feminization of men. It was a constant struggle between the older men and the younger men. They viewed the younger men as a bunch of pansies, and the there are a lot of correlations between what happened to Rome and what's happening to us.
Oh, yes.
Let's see. Did you marshal in that sound there, Robert?
No, I think it was Dad.
Huh. Well, it seems to be gone now, so.
Sound.
Sounded like the air conditioner.
Yeah.
I thought it was coming from Robert
That may be the air
because the
conditioner. My
fact
air
that he
conditioner's on.
touched his headset and it went away, but apparently he heard it too, so.
Well, what I did was I muted my headset to see what would happen, and it kept going.
Oh, okay.
So it's the air conditioner in this room.
Ah.
Yeah. But anyway, there are a lot of corollaries between
The,
the decline of the Roman Empire and our decline. Only problem is we don't have the Hun or Goths or any of the yet.
We have Goths.
Well,
we got plenty of Goths.
We have
They're called
the
emo now.
BLM
No,
and
the emos were outlasted by the Goths. The emos have fallen as a subculture. The
Really,
Goths,
they merged
thing
back in
about
with the
it
fam.
is
the Goths, the Goths kind of outlasted and then turned into cyber Goths for a while, which was an interesting thing to watch. And I think they're back to just being normal Goths again. But that's partially due to the internet claiming that they find goth women to be attractive, so naturally women would try it.
How much of that's the internet being the internet and not being serious at all?
Unable to
I'm sure
identify.
there are people attracted to goth women. But well, our society has gotten to a point where they're mixing fiction in with history all the time. Used to be you'd go to a local festival commemorating a certain time frame in history, like the Old West or the Revolution, or even these Renaissance fairs. And the whole point was to show people how people lived and did things during those time periods. Now you go to a Renaissance fair and you see more cyberpunk than you do Renaissance.
Really? When did that happen?
Sorry, that was steampunk. Sorry, that was
Okay,
steampunk. Not,
That's not
not
even in the right.
yes, it was.
It's
You're
not
right.
even
It
in the
was.
right time period. Steampunk is
Yeah, it's
I know,
about 300
copying the
years off.
Victorians.
It was about 200,
Yeah.
3 to 200,
And think,
2 to 300 years off.
and think about it. Yeah, but they had steampunk there. It's like recently at a festival held at a town in Arkansas, and this town is an old west town with a downtown that still looks old west. And instead of having their normal historical festival celebrating their heritage, they had a steampunk festival. Well, it's not a steampunk, but a steampunk festival. Oh,
Yeah, it was
instead,
steampunk.
At least
during
that's
the
the right.
normal.
At least that's pretty
Yeah, during.
close to the time period. And then again, I accredit things like
Yes, but
that.
it's.
I credit things like that to just people being bored of tradition. Like, for example, I like history. I like history a lot, but if I had to go to the exact same festival every year, commemorating the exact same time period, I'd get sick of it too. You need to mix it up.
I don't have a problem with holding different. I don't have a problem with holding a different festival for a different time period or even a different genre.
Yeah,
But when you have one that's dedicated to a certain genre and then you do something different,
true. But once
Why?
again,
You could
that's
just
just
have
young people
both.
getting bored. I
you can have
understand.
both, yeah. But you need to say it. You need
I
to state
don't
it.
I don't agree with them, but I understand. Is my point.
And I'll agree that the Wild West and the time period depicted in the steampunk fiction is about the same time period. So,
Just surprised the fantasy nerds haven't gone
Yeah,
Weird
but
West with it yet.
the steampunk aesthetic is not very historically accurate.
not
Of course
historically
it's
accurate at
not.
all.
Neither is the diesel punk or laser punk or cyberpunk or the other types of punk.
Yeah, but I honestly find the historical aesthetic to be more compelling.
Agreed. Completely agree with you.
Now the in Texas, they the bill to take and secede from the Union was blocked from going to committee.
So
That's
they're
a
gonna try
surprise.
to
They're getting a
get around the
backlash.
committee.
So they're talking about taking it straight to the floor of the House.
That would be entertaining.
Because all the bill is to enable the citizenry of Texas to be able to vote on whether to remain in.
Yeah. In fact, letting people vote on it doesn't hurt anyone.
No. So there's only one reason why they wouldn't allow it.
Because they're afraid it'll pass.
They're afraid it'll pass. And if it passes, woe be unto the Californians that are flooding into Texas.
Yeah, they'll suddenly become illegal immigrants.
Yep. They're liable to be deported. But But I still think that the other red states drop like dominoes.
Yeah, but California ain't one of them.
No, it's a blue state.
Half of California will see.
Actually, if you actually look at all these blue states, 75% of each of them is red.
True.
If
But the
not
people
more.
from the red areas aren't the ones leaving. Because the people from the red areas would have
No.
already left if they were going to leave. It's the people from the cities
Now,
that are
all
leaving.
the eastern counties of Oregon have all voted to secede from Oregon and become part of Greater Idaho.
So you can't get over that. Greater Idaho. The hegemon of the western U.S. Greater Idaho.
Have they determined what their flag
Establishing
is
its
going to be?
dominance against
Because I
its
recommend a
neighbors.
blue flag with a potato on it.
They're just going to go with the state flag that's already there.
Well, that's
But
boring.
Maybe add in a leprechaun just for their Irish roots.
A potato has enough roots to go around for everyone. They don't need to worry about the Irish roots. They got the potato roots.
I don't know
But
the potato.
What do you think the potato?
The
what do you- the
potatoes
potato is the Irish.
I planted didn't do.
The potatoes
Potatoes I
are the
planted
Irish
didn't
roots,
take root
Josh.
at all. It looks like Cheney may lose her seat in Wyoming.
Was she the one that was grandstanding against her own party?
Yes, and got
Yes.
ousted for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's no longer in a leadership position. She got replaced by a Trump supporter.
Well, when you commit political suicide,
And then she went and said that her dad was supporting her running for president.
Yeah. Yeah. Her
It's
dad's
like, what is
supporting her for
going through this
presidential
woman's
run.
mind? You just got. That was after she got ousted.
Yes, but she's a swamp creature. And she spent most of her childhood, if not all of her childhood, in Washington, D.C. She believes that they are the ones that actually run things. Or should be the ones
she
running
believes that
things.
political office is her birthright.
Right.
She's an oligarch.
Kind of like the Bushes. The Bushes are the same way. They're a bunch of oligarchs.
Technically, a republic is an oligarchy. So.
It
Yes,
technically,
we're talking Russian-style oligarchy.
yes, but there's a difference between having an oligarchy and having an oligarch.
Yeah,
Technically, there's
one letter.
not, but it's but what we're looking at
Well,
is
what happens when you take an oligarch out of an oligarchy?
Russian-style oligarchy.
Well, what happens when you take an oligarch out of an oligarchy?
The army gets killed.
An oligarchy.
Yeah, but you also end up with a
You end up
highly
with a
entitled
dead person
person with
normally.
no skills. That's what an oligarch is, especially a generational oligarch, not one that either earned or fought their way into their position.
Kind of like the leader of North Korea.
Exactly like the leader of North Korea. An oligarch is a dictator light.
But he's not a dictator light. He's a full-blown dictator.
Well, yeah, but North Korea isn't an
madman.
oligarchy either. It's a dictatorship.
Yes.
Most
Now,
communist countries
technically
actually
speaking,
are
China's supposed to be an
oligarchs,
oligarchy.
weirdly enough. technically,
are,
but
but
it's really.
North
Well,
Korea is not supposed to be.
I'm not sure if it's made the transition, the total transition from oligarchy to monarchy just yet. It all depends on how much power she really wields within the Politburo. And that's the thing about later Russia. Earlier communist Russia was a monarchy. Later communist Russia was an oligarchy.
Well, that's the nature of the fact that power has a tendency of decentralizing itself. Because everyone who
Yeah.
fights for power wants a slice of it. And anyone who's going to rule for a long period of time has to give up a certain portion of the slices.
Yeah.
Or crush their enemy.
Yeah, but even then, owning the whole pie only lasts for one generation, tops.
Though remember what happened to the absolute monarchy in France. It didn't end well. But that lasted more than one generation.
Well, look at the one in England. It degenerated to being just a standard oligarchy.
Well, England didn't have an absolute monarchy.
It did
It
under William
never
the
established
Conqueror.
an absolute monarchy.
He's right.
Even
It did
then,
under
he
William the
still used the
Conqueror.
feudal caste.
He still used the feudal caste system, but once again, that was him electively giving pieces of the pie away in order to maintain power. But he still had to conquer it in the first place before he divided it up. It's a difference between a smart
Yeah.
dictator and a foolish dictator. You won't get anyone that fights for you as a dictator if you don't give them a piece of the pie. You just got to choose who you
It's
give the
true.
pieces to.
It's true. Stalin was very good about who he gave the pieces to. He gave the pieces to the people he felt least threatened by.
Yeah.
That's
He
why he
killed everyone
managed to
else.
maintain power for so long. Yep.
But he also took and turned around and killed the ones that he'd given power to at a later point.
Yes, he did.
If they
He
became a
did.
threat, yeah.
That's one thing. Communism always eats its own. And
Though remember that Mao didn't have any threats. He was able to swim 9 miles up, 9 miles along the Yellow River at 70.
just before he died. Just before he died.
Remember that Iron Man triathlons only make you swim 2.
What they didn't tell you was he was going downstream.
the Now China's back into the problem with flooding in southern China and droughts in northern China.
Yeah, interesting
They
fact
don't.
that most people don't realize is that a lot of northern China, their water levels are about on par with, say, Qatar, that area.
Well, there's a little thing called the Gobi Desert. Takes up a
Yeah, but this
pretty
is around
large portion
Beijing.
of China.
Beijing used to be a verdant area.
Desertification is a thing that happens.
Yes, it
Yes.
is. It also can be stopped.
Can be, but not if you destroy your
People
country the
aren't
way that China
very
has been
good
for the
at
last century.
it. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
China's
it. Only a century.
China has plenty of water. It's just all polluted.
But yeah, that's the thing. They've only lasted a century. Not even a century yet. They've only lasted 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you take the if they take the water from southern China and move it to northern China, which is what they're trying to do, they're probably going to wipe out the ecology of southern China.
And here's the kicker: they're going to destroy their rice industry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's all in southern China.
Now, their grain industry is in the drier region. Their wheat and corn and cattle. Most cattle don't like standing in water all the time. That's a water buffalo thing.
Well, everybody's got a water buffalo. We'll see how many people get that reference.
Oh,
Where they come
probably
from,
those
I
who
don't
would
know. But
understand
everybody's got a
Barbara
water buffalo.
Manatee.
I think Robert's
Probably those that
missing
would
these
understand
references.
Barbara Manatee.
Oh no, I know the reference. Trust me.
Okay, then you weren't amused by them.
But well, here recently around here, they had a buffalo escape, buffalo herd escape.
I didn't know he had buffalo around.
They're all domestic up there, but
We
yeah.
have bison.
Apparently, we do. Well, yeah, the American buffalo, the bison. And they contacted
You were talking about
the
water
owners of the
buffaloes,
ranch.
so
They had to go round them up. Yeah. Well,
you were
okay, I've
you were talking
shifted
water
gears.
buffaloes before,
The-
so because bison are not actually buffaloes. They're called buffaloes colloquially, but they're not actually buffaloes.
No, they're more closely related to the yak.
What about the gnu? The gnu. How do they fit into the whole picture?
They are an antelope.
Huh.
Huh. Who knew?
Of course, you realize that a pronghorned antelope in the United States is actually a goat.
The U.S.
Aren't,
just
Isn't the
it's just
moose
got all
also a
sorts
type of antelope? Or elk?
What?
Isn't the moose also a type of antelope or elk?
No, elk is a type of deer. No, they're a deer.
Wasn't the moose as well?
Yeah, they're all deer. Moose, elk.
Reindeer?
In the
Deer.
United States,
Oh dear.
we have several species of deer: red-tailed deer, mule deer, white-tailed deer, black-tailed deer, or
Whitetail's by far the
caribou.
most common in the American South.
It's quite a tale.
They're little
Deary
ones.
me, it's a
Though.
tale.
Whitetail are little deer. Mule deer are huge. Elk are big. Moose are big. But
The white stag.
those are all in the deer family. But the American antelope and the American mountain goats are both are supposed to be in the goat family.
Hey, mountain goats are really cool. Those things can stand on inclines that nothing should be able to stand on.
That's true. The mountain sheep are like that too.
Well, if anyone who's watching has ever seen a mountain goat or a mountain sheep, good for you. I haven't. I haven't spent enough time in the Rockies. But if you like this episode,
Oh, we got way off
Believe it
feel
or
free
not,
to hit the
Bighorn
like and
mountain sheep
subscribe
I've seen in
button.
Texas.
But if you like this episode, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Till then, see you next time.